Hey guys, welcome to my review of episode 5 of Ahsoka. So this is the episode where Anakin Skywalker makes his full return and he's there throughout most of the episode. So I'm going to give you my full breakdown of what I thought of the episode, what I liked and what I disliked. So let's get into it. To set the scene, Ahsoka is in the world between worlds. She has fallen into the water and she's unconscious and she's in the world between worlds. She meets with Anakin again and he's basically there to complete her training. And the vast chunk of the episode is them basically reliving scenes from the Clone Wars, the animation series, in different settings, the Siege of Mandalore and whatnot, and Anakin just imparting different wisdoms on her. Full disclosure, I have a lot of issues with this episode, even though there are some things that I can enjoy about it in isolation, which I'll talk about first before I dig into the things that I really have problems with. What I like, starting off, Anakin Skywalker, his return. In isolation, what's not to love? It's Hayden Christensen back in the role of Anakin. I love it. I love Anakin. I've loved him since the prequels. I like the prequels. I'm not a hater of them whatsoever. And I think he was done dirty during that time and was overly criticized for a lot of things. But yeah, ultimately it's great to see him getting the love now. And I felt like in Hayden's performance, you could really see the love that he had too. Like you could see him almost taking this as another opportunity to show what he could really do with this character. And he did. I feel like he really brought it. And he got to see this almost new, kind of more serious, more mature side of Anakin as opposed to what he was like in the prequels. And that's nice to see in isolation. And whilst I used to be a sucker for nostalgia bait in the past, those days are long gone. You cannot trick me anymore with Star Wars. I know this episode is 100% pure, just nostalgia bait, nothing more, nothing less. And so when you really remove that veneer, it's actually a very shallow and thin episode. And what do I mean by that? Well, the whole episode hinges on this one lesson that Anakin is trying to teach Ahsoka. And that lesson is live or die. Now, what the hell does that mean? Well, no matter what way you try to slice it, there's no real meaning to that whatsoever. It is very shallow and very, basically stupid. It's not anything at all that you can learn from. The implication is that Ahsoka is having some sort of dilemma where she can't choose whether to live or die, and which had not been presented at all throughout this series for the first 4 episodes. Nothing about her character whatsoever has felt like she has a death wish or like she's struggling to survive or anything like that. So this lesson has no bearing on her story arc whatsoever. It has no relation to it. It's out of nowhere. And what does it mean? Does it mean that, she's now underwater and she's got to fight to survive now that she's unconscious? Well, that's just, okay, of course she wants to survive. Why does having to fight Anakin, what does that have to do with her surviving? This doesn't have any bearing. They're two completely different things. She of course she wants to survive. She hasn't completed her mission. She's very determined about her mission to find Thrawn, to save Ezra, and so on. So there is nothing about her situation which would make her not want to survive. So why does she need to have this dilemma presented before her? It's what really bugs me about this episode is that it presents this premise as some really deep and meaningful thing that she's experiencing. Oh wow, Anakin presenting me this thing of live or die. It's really, they make it sound more important than it is, but it's really, there's nothing there. There is nothing to work with, and it is that lame and that stupid. And the other thing that I actually take issue with is actually some of the things in the episode that were actually done well. And what I mean by that is the cinematography and some of the particular shots they show in this episode. So there's these really cool shots that have gone viral of Anakin walking into like smoke and like flipping back between Anakin and Darth Vader, and it's meant to be really impactful. And yes, you can say in isolation, those are cool shots, but the reaction to it that you see online where people are just fawning over it and losing their minds it's so stupid because it's so shallow. It's just that's all Star Wars is now. It's just about itself. It's about referencing itself. It doesn't further the story in any way. It doesn't come up with anything new. It doesn't give us any new ideas. It's just about referencing things that have already happened. And so whilst, yes, I can admit that these were good, technically good shots that they showed on film that look good on the screen, all of that, but meaning-wise, they don't contribute anything. There's nothing. It's just, we've seen this before. We've seen the use of like Darth Vader in these sorts of ways before. It doesn't mean anything to the story. It's just a nice looking shot on a screen, but it's completely superficial. And the other more macro issue that I have with this series based on this episode is something that I've said before in my previous reviews of the earlier episodes, which is this whole series is about finding Thrawn. We are now 5 episodes into an 8-episode series, and there has not been a sniff of him whatsoever. He is not anywhere to be seen. They don't have any idea where he is still, nothing like that. So you now have 3 episodes where he could possibly turn up, and and cause trouble, whatever. But you're just, the more and more time that you don't have him means the less time you have to actually flesh him out once he is on screen. So this has been a common problem with all of the Star Wars series to this point, is that they just kind of meander along and just waste time throughout the bulk of the episodes, and then they try to cram everything in at the very end. And I can see that's going to happen right now. I'm guaranteeing you he's not going to turn up in episode 6. There's going to be more setup again happening there, and then he's either going to turn up in episode 7 or 8, and there'll be a big battle around that, or blah blah blah, or he might even just get a small little scene. I'm willing to bet on that, but like that's just where I see it going. Having these kinds of episodes that are like completely standalone from the entire series, they really distract from what's happening. Not much. The big criticism of Ahsoka is that not much happens, and then now you dedicate a whole episode to something that goes completely off track into another area of ideas. It's like, well, you're just wasting time. You can maybe get away with it in a 15 to 20 episode season, but when you have 8 episodes to tell your story and you're choosing to take one of them in a completely different direction and you haven't achieved much so far, you're in big trouble. And the other annoying thing that's just been growing and growing to this point is the fact that now everyone can be a Force user in this Star Wars universe now. You've seen Jason Syndulla, son of Kanan, and then the son of Hera as well. Like, they all, even Hera is showing some sort of Force capabilities where she can hear lightsabers, if she just like closes off her senses, just focuses. Everyone now is a Force user, and it just goes back to this modern day idea that you get a trophy for participation, you get a trophy, how we reward kids now for doing nothing and not being able to achieve anything. This is where this ideology comes from, is that everyone's a winner. As long as you participate, you're a winner, let's all celebrate together. And it's just completely destroyed the meaningfulness of being a Jedi, using the Force. It's like, if everyone can do it, then it's not special anymore. So overall, as a fan of the prequels and of the Clone Wars animation, a bunch of the episodes, I can appreciate a lot of this episode in isolation. But the problem is, we're talking about a greater series here that's about Ahsoka, not about Anakin Skywalker. It's, we're trying to tell this story and nothing is happening in this story. They've just gone completely sidetracked to tell this other one, and completely for the sake of nostalgia bait and just Easter eggs and all this stuff, because this is all they have now. They don't feel they can tell a substantial story, so all they want to do is jangle keys in front of the few fans that they have left, just to get them to watch this show. And it's so sad just to see Star Wars just become about Star Wars. It's about reminding us of things that have happened in past Star Wars films, instead of giving us something cool and new to take us forward. So yeah, look, you could say a technically sound episode, but just completely, devoid of decent plot or storytelling, or even just a decent premise. Like, great to see Hayden back as Anakin, but the whole thing of live and die was so shallow, so stupid, makes no sense. So anyways, yeah, that's my overall thoughts. Just the show is just pretty bad for the most part, going through with the slight flashes here and there of decent filmmaking, but most of it is just trash. So yeah, look, that's my thoughts, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel. We'll see you next time. Bye.